Hey, I just wanted to add my perspective to John's story that he's been telling as this relates to my family and our separation from them. I think it's important to know there were several patterns that I was noticing within my family from a very young age. Specific issues would continue to arise, and one person after the next would inevitably end up in the same circumstance or a very, very similar circumstance. That was devastating. And as I watched, my parents and each of my siblings navigate the same challenge, and it always came like as a surprise of just like, oh, I can't believe it. And it was always looked at very, very individually. Almost as though like nobody else had ever been through it. And it's because in my family, we don't talk about the things that people have been through. It's like a person says that they've repented and then we never speak of it again. So nobody would ever talk about their experience in using the atonement or overcoming the specific challenge. It was never spoken of, it was never educated on, it was never taught about. And then, as every person in the family would experience the same thing, it was treated very individually, like it was the first time that it had happened, kind of. And I started to just, as I got older and I was married and had children, once it happened yet again, it's my sibling right above me, I just started to say, we have to talk about this. And I'd always wondered why I never heard anybody in my family talk about the healing power of the atonement and what it did for them and how Christ helped them through. It was just kind of, the attitude was more like, yeah, I made a mistake, but I repented. It's none of your business. Never speak about it again. My sins are white as snow. It's like it didn't happen. If you bring it up again, you're judgmental. Like, don't ask questions, kind of a thing. And it just didn't feel like there was the spirit of repentance. And so once it happened to my sibling right above me, I just felt like this is a pattern. It's a really strong pattern. And if we don't get to the bottom of why it's happening within our family, we are going to hand this problem to the 30 plus grandchildren that are within the family, and then every spouse that they marry. 60 plus people are going to be dramatically affected by this problem that continues to exist. And I just started speaking about it in terms of that, like, well, we needed boundaries from one certain individual, and we were trying to explain why. Pretty strong boundaries, a very harmful individual. And it was just, that letter came as a response to us needing boundaries with just one extended family member, and kind of saying, hey, just so you know, like, we won't be coming to Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve. We're not asking you not to have them. Just our family won't be coming because we don't want our holidays with this individual. And they knew what had been done, and they knew how bad it was, but it was like we were expected to just take it no matter what, So once our boundaries started to kind of inflict the family togetherness that is my parents' highest priority, they didn't like that at all. And it became the family priority too, of just like everybody is expected to put the family unit as a whole above their own individual well-being at any cost. And so we just kind of said no. I could see John had done this for me and for my family for years, and I could see the toll that it was taking on him mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I just knew I could no longer ask him to do it, and I didn't want to. It was too much. It was unfair. It felt cruel. And so I started to really support him and just say, no, I'm not going to ask this of you. Like, we can have boundaries from this person. And that just didn't go over well. It's like, you're not allowed to have boundaries with one person or else you're out, because we want the whole family kumbaya together, pretending like nothing happened, creating peace. And it's anything but peace. And so I knew that it was functioning in a really harmful way, the family culture. And I wasn't willing to take the cost anymore, as I watched my husband suffer and he tried for years to tell himself to be the bigger person and to just love and forgive, and so did I. And it just came to a tipping point. And so I knew that was the right thing for us. And when they did not respect our boundaries, it started to open my eyes to the fact that this is a much bigger problem. And I had already kind of been asking questions about the patterns that extended beyond just that one individual, and it was not taken too well. It's like you just kind of play dumb, or everyone would just kind of play dumb, or just minimize facts right in front of their face, and that we're harming people consistently. And I just started to say, like, we have to root it out. And if we can't look at it and we can't talk about it, why can't these individuals talk about it? Doesn't matter that they've made mistakes. That's life, that's mortality. But why can't they talk about it, and the healing power, and how Christ helped them overcome and strengthen them, and then teach from their experiences, so that the posterity and the family does not get stuck in the same harmful, horrible situations. To me, I feel like that's very much a part of the atonement. When you're healed through Jesus Christ, there's a natural inclination to protect others from having to go down the same harmful, hurtful road by teaching and testifying of your experiences, both of the behavior or the sins that caused so much heartache, and the redemptive power of Jesus Christ and his atonement. And those conversations just would never be had or addressed. And in fact, by even suggesting that they should be, I became judgmental, and somebody who just couldn't let go of the past, and that it didn't matter. And I just knew these things were wrong. I knew that I've known about them for years, and then all the continuing similar problems, and I had always just loved, and what I thought was love, but really I was very conditioned to sweep it under the rug and not see it, and no matter how much harm and damage it had done. And so I was prayerful one day over it, and I just had like a thought, an inspirational thought that came to my mind, and it was this: when the shame of the sin is more powerful or bigger than the redemption of the sin, then the atonement has not been used fully. And I knew that this applied to my family, no matter what their level of repentance was. And of course that was between them and God, but God tells us that we need to judge. Mosiah 7 in the Book of Mormon is all about how, we are given wisdom so that we can judge, but the command is to not judge wrongfully, to not see good things that are of the Spirit as evil, and to not see evil things as good. And that we can know by their fruits. By their fruits ye shall know them. Because all people who are pretending to be something, they're pretending, right? And so we are supposed to use our discernment to feel and discern whether or not that person is truthful. And I could feel and discern that the repentance had not been fully utilized by certain individuals in my family, powerful ones, that, you know, everybody tended to cater to these personalities, no matter the cost. And they were the ones that could never own up to their mistakes. And, you know, the finger pointing was always at somebody else. And I just could see that it was off, and that we were going to hand a generation of grandchildren heartache because of the behaviors and the family culture that was just being handed down to them, and that was really handed to us as children, me and my siblings. And so I'm grateful for my husband, because he showed me an entirely different way, and we've done a lot of things differently, and it's opened my eyes to how unhealthy the family environment as a whole has been. And over time we've both learned, you know, he didn't see it for what it was in the beginning, and neither did I. It's taken us time, and again, putting boundaries in place slowly, really, really slowly, and to not allow their control. But it just came to a tipping point, and, you know, John is fully no contact. I am not. I try to keep the door open. It was my mom's birthday this past month, and I text her, and, you know, I try to keep the door open enough to where if they decide to change or choose to change or want to have a conversation even that's constructive and healthy and honest, I'm there for it. But I haven't received any of that yet. They don't want to. They don't want it. It's not worth it to them to have honest conversations. They absolutely know that I am here for them when they do. It's not like, don't contact me, I'm gone for life. They have access to me, and they have not chosen to engage in healthy contact, healthy dialogue, honest. They don't want to be talking about the past and the patterns and the circumstances that I believe have to be addressed to be able to heal these problems within the family. And so this is just where we're at today. It doesn't look like things will change anytime soon, and maybe never even in this life. I don't know. I'm kind of prepared for anything, because I know that I can't control it, but this is my way of loving them, to not accept the things that they really think are normal that are actually destructive. And that is love to me, to say, I know you don't see it, but I won't tolerate it as a form of love to you. I will not continue to allow you to exhibit control and behaviors that are really, really destructive. So who knows? We're learning. I don't think anybody goes no contact or estranged from their family and does it perfectly. There's no playbook. I just have to stand in what I know, and, you know, nobody will ever know the full story, because I won't ever tell it publicly. They certainly have their version of the story that they tell themselves, and, you know, that's their right. But for me, I want truth, and I want to raise my children in an environment founded in truth, where we can look at all facts, behaviors, you know, talk about anything. our kids know that there is nothing John and I won't talk about. You could not bring up a single thing that they would be in trouble for wanting to talk about. And, we're open about our flaws as parents, and we try to do things really differently to just help them feel like you become known by being able to express your feelings and emotions and what's happened to you and information that you have found and bottled and dealt with. All the things that I had to just bottle up in childhood, my mom didn't even know. My parents did not know all the things that I knew as a young child because I knew I wasn't supposed to know. And so I held on to a lot of really sad, destructive information that I shouldn't have had to navigate. And it's wreaked havoc within the family as a whole, not ever being able to talk about the truth. And so we're just choosing to do things differently. And we know that it's been really empowering for us to hear other people's stories, to be able to even feel like this is okay, right? Like when you're doing things like this, it feels bad when you're so conditioned to stay silent. And you wonder if it's okay or if it makes you a bad person or you're doing something bad or something that you need to apologize for by speaking. It's really, really hard to speak about destructive relationships and toxic environments because they are bred and kept alive through secrecy and not speaking. And then you speak and the world gives you messages of, well, just keep your peace and stay silent. And that's just really hard because on one hand, I totally agree and feel like, gosh, it's the best thing to do, right? Like somebody with character doesn't have to speak the truth. They just hold it and can quietly move forward. And yet there's this other part of you that's like, speak the truth. It's so important. And I battle that to this day. I'm constantly trying to figure out, do I stay silent or do I speak? And you kind of have to just let go of other people's judgments and figure it out day by day. But it's the hardest thing I've ever had to navigate, and not everybody will understand it, and that's okay.